Okay, this is a pretty short video on how to manage to reset your password. In this case, it is a nested VM. I'm running Infosec in the background here, and through VMware Workstation, I have Windows 10 running. I ran into a situation where I just couldn't figure out my password. I do have some notes hiding here in the background that we'll be using. Um, what we're going to essentially do is trick Windows. This is an ease of access button. It's meant to allow people with disabilities to make the screen bigger, put the keyboard on the screen, stuff like that. We're going to make Windows use that to open the command prompt. So the first thing that we need to do is to restart our system. Once it starts to restart, it's going to move my screen over a bit, and at that point we want to hit escape, which will bring up our boot menu. Hit it only one time. If you had been able to see your mouse outside here, you would have wanted to click into this box so that you knew you were working with the VM, or the nested VM as the case would be. We want to go down to CD-ROM. I have a ISO disk in my virtual CD-ROM. I can't guarantee if it would work if that wasn't there. So I'm going to hit enter. On the next screen, it says press any key to boot from CD or DVD. An important step on that last screen was I had only hit escape once. If you hit it multiple times, that boot menu will come up, go away, and you'll wind up basically back where you started because it will just go right on to the login page eventually. So, we're here as though it thinks that we want to boot from a disk. I'm going to press Shift and F10. This is going to bring up my command prompt. The first thing I want to do is change to my C drive. So C:\enter. What I'm looking for right now is a Windows folder. So I'm going to type dir, which will print the contents of my directory that I'm in, which is the C folder or C directory. There's nothing there that is of interest to me. So let's go to the next letter in the alphabet. D. Now let's type dir. Lo and behold, there's our Windows folder right here. So from there, let's type cd Windows, and Windows is not case sensitive, so it really doesn't matter. But now I know that within this folder is another one called System32. I'm not going to use the dir command because it will print a very long list. Now that we're where we need to be, we're going to rename, which is REN, a file called utilman.exe, and we're going to rename it to utilman2.exe. Press enter. And I want to also, while I'm in here, make a copy of command cmd.exe, but I want to call it utilman.exe. So essentially what I did was I took the utilman file. That's what was being opened when we clicked on that accessibility menu. And I've called it utilman2. At that point, the button would just go, huh? It wouldn't know what it was looking for. I then made a copy of the command exe and called it utilman. So now, when we click on that button in a few minutes, it's actually going to open a command prompt because as you can see, this is command.exe or cmd.exe. I'm going to type exit, press enter, and I'm going to close out of this, telling me that, am I sure I want to cancel my installation? Yes, I'm sure. I only came in here to play a trick on you, so really not that big a deal. Now, as I said before, as I can see the mouse out here, I know I'm not in my VM. Had that happened before, I would have clicked in and I would have been able to press escape. Otherwise, I'd be pressing it out on the host virtual machine, not the guest. And that wouldn't really accomplish anything. So, from here, we're going to click in, and we're going to click Ease of Access. Well, gee, the menu didn't come up this time. It brought this up. Now, there's a couple ways you can change your password. One way to do it is net user, whatever your username is, and the password you want to give it. There's no requirements on what it can be. Since we're dealing with SMCC right now, I'll just call it SMCC. It was changed successfully. If you want to use a GUI interface to do it, we're going to type control user passwords 2. That's going to bring this up. I'm going to select admin, and from here I'm going to put it something a little more secure, but also easy for me to remember, and press enter. I could have also clicked OK. From here, I'm going to click OK. I'm going to type exit, and just to prove that the password that I gave it the first time doesn't work, because I did in fact go in and change it again. I'm not going to show it because obviously that would defeat the point. That is one upside or downside to using NetUser, is you can see what you're typing versus it being bullets. From here, we have a little bit of housekeeping to do. We're going to go under here to Windows Explorer. We want to go to this PC, C drive, Windows. We want, that was my fault. We want System 32. And there's a whole lot in here, which is why I didn't need to print stuff out. But we want util man is what we're after. All right. From here, this we don't need anymore. That's a copy of the command prompt. And at this point, it's just kind of hanging out. Now, I've given myself the appropriate permissions, but if you hadn't, what you'd have to do is come to this file, go to Properties, Security, Advanced. This would say Trusted Installer. You'd want to change it. Up here, you'd want to go Admin, or whatever the username is that you would be using. Search, or check names, I apologize. Bring that up, press OK. From there, you'd be able to see that person on there, and we're going to hit apply. I'm going to go here, edit, and if I needed to, I could give myself full control there. I'm going to close out of these. Now at that point, we want to hit rename. Right click on it, hit rename, and we want to take the 2 away. Now it will know what's going on. Just to show that everything worked out, let's again go over here, sign out, and if I click on this, now that menu comes up as it did before. It's really just a way of keeping this secure. If I wanted to, I could have left the command prompt right there. It wasn't really hurting anything, unless I, for some reason, needed access to that. But hopefully this is helpful to others. I'm going to minimize my nested VM for a minute. To recap, we went through the drives with dir to find out what had Windows on it. We changed to Windows. System 32, we renamed utilman over to utilman2. We made a copy of the command.exe file and called it utilman, so that button would bring up the command prompt. From there, we could either do net user, the username, and what we wanted the password to be, or control user passwords 2, and that brought up the user interface for us. That way we were able to get that changed and do it that way. Again, upside, downside. If you use the command prompt, you can see what you're typing. Through that GUI, you can't. But hopefully this was helpful to those in some of the 100 level classes at SMCC in case they need to change their password.